What's up, guys? My name's Caleb Srackangast. This is Buffalo Creek Outdoors. I'm up here at Grafton Archery again today doing the reviews on the 2025 bows. Today's review is going to be all about the new Mathews Lift X 29.5. Let's jump on into it. So, as always, I have my grading criteria here. The score sheet is available in the description below. You can go there and look at it if you're interested. It's got a 12 criteria grading scale: shootability, tunability, draw cycle, letdown, back wall, noise, vibration, shot, speed, weight, balance, integrated accessories, and price. All those 12 grading criteria add up to a possible score of 100 points. I have those in order by which I think they're most important to least important. And yeah, let's jump on into it. So specs first. Specs wise, this bow is going to be exactly the same as the Lift 29.5 from last year with a few changes. So specs wise, we're looking at 29.5 inches axle to axle, 6-inch brace height, IBO speed of 348, draw weight availability from 55 to 80 pounds with the switch weight mods, draw length availability 24.5 to 30. Now on draw length, this is like any of the Mathews that I remember as long as I've been alive. It's an individual mod. Keep that in mind. You need to know your let off that you want, your draw length that you want, and your draw weight that you want. Now it is available, I mean it is adjustable with your limb bolts, but they don't recommend doing that. They recommend using the mod system. And I can tell you, it does change specs when you start running your limb bolts in and out. You want to run your limb bolts maxed out if you can help it. They have the Arc 7 technology, which is pretty much, they changed their building process. That's what it amounts to. 11 different colors, and you can mix match however you want to. It's just an upcharge on price. I think it's like a $50 or $75 upcharge in price. And then you've also got the Bond grip system. I shot all 3 of the grips that come in the Bond grip system. My preference was pretty consistent across the board. I'll do a video on that if you're interested and talk about what I think about that system. Now that is sold separately, so that doesn't come with your bow. If you buy a Lift X, you have to buy that separately. The bow does still come with what they're calling the engaged grip, but I can tell you right now, this is a hard plastic grip, much like the UV grip or grips like that, where it's just a hard molded plastic with a little rubberized strip on the back. This has been my favorite Mathews grip so far on a just stock grip on the bow. So I do much prefer that hard grip, that hard edge with that little strip of rubber in the middle. So I do like that they changed that. And lastly, and most importantly, they changed having the adjustability of your limb left and right on a limb screw. So top and bottom limbs on the right hand side are going to have a screw that you can take out right there. It looks like your limb bolt screw, but it's not. You take this little screw out and there's a little bit bigger Allen key size post in there that actually drives your right limb left and right. Your cams are fixed now to your left limb, so your top hats, they don't work on this bow. That's not what they're for. You can still use them on your older bows, but from this point forward, we're gonna have this limb shift technology on all the Mathews bows. Now, this is not a patent infringement or anything like that because of the way it actually moves the limb and not the cam. So if you've seen my videos in the past, you know I'm not real big on all the additional adjustments and things like that, just because of, it just seems to me that there's that variable there that may allow that stuff to move and shift. I don't really like all that. I would rather have a bow that's more durable, that I don't have to worry about things coming loose. And I know people eat me up on that all the time, but that's just personal preference. And that's what this sport's all about. I mean, it's so much personal preference. Anyway, you got the limb shift technology. It does work. I think where this is going to really come into play are for you guys like myself that are at home trying to broadhead tune. I think you get out in the yard and you start shooting and your broadheads are separate. Rather than moving your rest, because you know your rest is set at that mark where Mathews says it should be. Now you're adjusting this limb bolt and this limb screw here that's actually moving that limb, shifting your cams as far as your tension on your cams. And I think that's really going to come in handy trying to get those broadheads to tune out there at distance. All right, so that's it on the specs. Let's jump on into the scoring, and then I'll really get into actually reviewing what I think about this bow and where I think this bow is going to be a good fit for you. All right, so for shootability, we've got a total score of 63.06, which gives us a 6 on the grading scale. That's going to be your axle to axle, your riser length, and your brace height all added together. Subtract the reflex of the bow, and that gives you your total score there. A lot of you guys said that you didn't really think reflex made a difference, but then some of you said that you thought it made a big difference. So we're going to leave that in there for this year. Tunability, we've got the ability to adjust your cams left and right without a press. Great, great addition. Limb pockets, they aren't adjustable. Draw length is adjustable in a 1/2 inch length adjustment, so 24.5 gets a mod, 25 gets a mod, and so on and so forth. Grip is a really good adjustable grip system now with the bond system, so you get 2 points there. Let off is adjustable, not with a press, but with the mod, so it's not something that's just readily available to adjust without buying a new mod, so we're giving you a 1 there. Timing is only adjustable with a press, give you a 1 there. Strings and cables, and technically your timing too, but that's not how I would recommend adjusting your timing, because you're going to want a draw board. You can reference these little indicator marks, these little windows in the cams to get your timing pretty close, but you're definitely going to want a draw board if you can help it. So I still give timing a 1 because I would recommend using a press to adjust your timing. But that being said, strings and cables are changeable in a pinch with the Mathews SAS system. That is more so just having in the field for cases of emergency, but you can adjust it if you choose to do so, so we'll give you a 2. It does still have your integrated rest slots for specifically, I would say the most common rest we see on these bows is going to be the QAD MX2. And then you have your integrated sight, your your bridge lock technology sight window, as well as your bridge lock technology stabilizer window. So we'll give you a 2 there for a total of 7 points on tunability. All right, draw cycle. This bow's draw cycle is extremely smooth. It is stiffer than just say your Hoyts of the past, which there's a little bit there to talk about for this year's Hoyts. But draw cycle, I gave an 8 out of 10 on this bow. I really enjoy the draw cycle on the Mathews. It's going to be all these scores are going to be essentially almost identical to last year's bows. There are a couple changes, and I think that may just be me personally, not so much the bow. Let down, I give this bow a 7. It's not the best, but it's definitely above average, if I had to say, for a bow that shoots this fast. The ability to let the bow down without just really trying to snatch your shoulder off, I think is not talked about enough on the hunting side, especially for guys like myself that hunt all day. You're in the stand, you hadn't drawn your bow back in 12 hours, and then all of a sudden, at the last minute, that big buck comes by. You draw back, and then you have to let down. You're sore, you're tight, you're cold. It makes it harder to let that bow down smoothly, so I think that's something that we don't talk about enough. I give this bow a 7 out of 10.
What's up, guys? Appreciate you watching the video so far. Hopefully you're getting something out of it. My wife and I really appreciate you supporting our channel. Hopefully you can swing by the website and check out the new merchandise. Got a few new hats. This is one of them. And yeah, support the channel if you enjoy what you're watching. It really helps us continue to do what we're doing. So appreciate it. Now back to the video.
Back wall, 10 out of 10. 100%. The back wall in these Mathews is solid as a rock. Noise, I think last year I scored this bow at a 5 on noise. Yeah, I did. But after shooting these bows for the last couple of days, I dinged this bow a little bit on noise, only because there were a couple bows that I shot that were quieter. Whether or not the speed plays a factor into that, I really don't know. This bow is shooting a little bit faster than the other two bows that were quieter than it, but I did give this bow a 4. Vibration, 5. Mathews has that part nailed down. Let's jump on into the speeds. So for speeds, at 27-inch draw with a 350 grain arrow, I shot this bow at 307 or 306.4. At a 425 grain arrow at 27 inches, I shot 281.4. At, let's see, a 513 grain arrow, I shot 259.5. All those numbers were almost identical to last year's bow. One thing to keep in mind, this bow does have a whisker biscuit, so all those numbers that I just said, add about 3 feet a second to them, and that's probably roughly what you would shoot if you were shooting a drop away. So 30-inch draw, I shot 330.4 with a 350, 306.3 with a 425 grain, and then 281.4 with a 513 grain. So those speeds right there give this bow a total of 9.5 out of 10 points for speed, 3.99 pounds, which is exactly the same as it was last year, which gets this bow a 9.5 out of 10. For balance, love the balance on these bows, 5 out of 5. Integrated accessories, you're gonna get you a 5 out of 5 because you have your integrated sight, integrated rest, integrated stabilizer. The quiver that goes on this bow is extraordinary. There's 3 different quivers. They are all awesome. And then you have the limb legs that go on here, which is another awesome system. So 5 out of 5 there. So for price on this bow, this is gonna be in that $1,300-ish price range. Don't quote me on price because the shops have to designate their prices, and I don't want to tell you exactly what they're charging because that's not up to me. So I'm thinking this bow is right in that $1,300 range, plus or minus a little bit. I think 1,300-ish is like MAP, I believe. Anyway, that's going to put this bow in that under 1,500 and over 1,200 range, so it's going to get a 5 out of 10. Where I like this price score being last, what this does, guys, is if you have a bow that scores 1 or 2 points better throughout the scoring sheet, right? Say you're at one bow shooting 74, got a 74 as a score, and the other one's got a 72. But the bow that has a 74 costs you $2,000, and the bow that has a 72 costs you $1,300. You add that 5 point for the cheaper bow and the 0 point for the expensive bow that's $2,000, and then that you see the difference there, and it kind of helps you weigh out is which bow is worth that extra money. Is it worth it to buy that, you know, $1,800 to $2,000 bow because it scored 2 points higher? Probably not. So that's why I like to have price last. All right, guys, so out of a possible 100 points, this bow got an 81 out of 100. So what do I like, what I would dislike? Biggest like on this bow is just how balanced, how smooth, and how dead in the hand this bow is, how the riser is longer than the axle to axle length. I think the Mathews bows are the only ones that are that way as of right now. And there's something to be said about a 29.5-inch axle to axle bow with a 29 3/4 inch riser. I do think after shooting my lift 29.5 all year that there's something to that because I shoot my lift 29.5 extraordinarily well for a short axle to axle bow. The biggest thing this year is going to be that limb shift technology, guys. Other than that, these bows are so similar. I like the grip better this year, much better than the standard engaged grip. But as far as should you buy this bow, should you not buy this bow, if you don't have a lift, 100%, I'm going to say without a shadow of a doubt, this bow is every bit worth the $1,300-ish plus or minus that this bow is selling for. Every bit of it. I mean, this is one of the best bows that I've ever shot. If you have a lift, that's really going to be dependent on what you're looking for. If you shoot your lift well, you really like the bow, but you want that ability to adjust for broadhead tuning on the limb and not having to adjust your top hats, the $1,300 may be worth it, because now that Mathews did the transferable warranty on the lifts because of the lift issues, you can probably still sell your lift for a really good amount of money and make most of your money back on that bow if you want to jump into something like the Lift X. If you have a lift and you don't shoot your lift very well, if it's not you and it's not the bow just being drastically out of tune, you're not going to notice a big difference in the Lift X. I'm not going to lie to you. These bows are very, very similar, and realistically the only difference you're going to see is the ease of tunability on your cams. That's pretty much it. The grips, you know, that's negligible. I prefer side plates on my Mathews anyway, so I wouldn't definitely buy a bow because of the Bond grips. I'll have to do some research before I post this video and see if the Bond grips will fit on any of the other years of bows. I do believe they will, but I'll put that in the video, whether it will, whether it won't, and how far back you can go. All right, guys, verse of the day coming to you out of Romans. This is Romans 5:8, King James Version is what I'm reading. But God commendeth his love towards us, in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. So remember that, guys. You might think you're so terrible that you're not worth redeeming, but remember that Christ died on the cross for you before years and years and years before you were ever even thought of by anybody other than him. So God loves you. Jesus loves you. Remember that. Live your life right, guys. Appreciate you watching. Come check these guys out at Grafton Archery and Outdoors. If you have any questions, give them a call at 704-855-1300. If you have any questions for me, please comment down below, like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching, guys. Remember to live your life to the fullest. Use your passions to bless others. We'll catch you on the next one.